Okay guys, welcome back to Cats, Tea, and Me. I'm Diane and I'm just hanging out and sharing my nuggets with you, my little nuggets of knowledge. So I have people that have come up to me and said, how great my artwork is and how it must be great to be so talented, and I appreciate that, and it makes me feel wonderful. I really am glad that people can appreciate the arts. And then they'll say, I'm not artistic, I'm not an artist, I couldn't draw to save my life. I can barely draw a stick figure. And they'll go on and they'll say, I just don't have the talent. Now here's where we beg to differ, because first of all, I believe that art is a communication from the soul. It does not have to be perfect. It needs to just be what you're feeling. And that is in case with this right here that I just finished. That is strictly a communication from my soul, an expression of my energies. I don't consider that a complete piece. It's just a sketch, but it's a wonderful idea that's going to springboard me off into something else. Everything doesn't have to be a finished piece. Everything should be made just strictly for your own enjoyment. But there are certain things that you can do to learn how to draw better, learn how to see things better. And that's the key right there, is to be able to see things better. Because our minds want to fill in the gaps. And when you are drawing, and let me tell you, it drives me crazy when people say that it's cheating when you're looking off of a picture. Let's get real. If you asked me to draw a porcupine for you today, I wouldn't be able to do it. I don't have that information in my mind. I would need reference pictures, okay? And even if you wanted me to draw a particular cat, let's say you wanted me to draw a Bengal or a Russian blue. Okay, I can draw cats from memory. I can't draw particular ones, and I need reference pictures. So there's no shame at all. Every artist goes out and takes pictures for their works of art. That's part of being an artist. That's part of the artist process. So don't think that you have to just have this magic memory that you can draw anything from, because that's not true either. But along those lines, your mind does store different pictures in memory. And when you're drawing and you say, okay, I want to draw a face, and you don't look from a reference picture, you're going to end up drawing, if you're not skilled at it, if you have not practiced at it. I'm sorry, that's my dog Max. He's an old boy. He's getting up. You okay, buddy? You have enough room? Okay. So if you have not practiced at it, you're going to end up with eyes on your forehead, and eyes that look like football shapes, and lips that look like little bows, things like that. That is because your mind thinks that it knows what it's going to draw, and it just draws what is stored up there in the memory. That is where you can start in order to learn to draw better. It's line-shape relationship. Line-shape relationship. Looking at a reference picture, looking at, not saying, oh, now I'm drawing an eye, or now I'm drawing a cat, or now I'm drawing the tail, or whatever. Just looking at the lines and shapes and saying, okay, now I'm drawing this line, and now I'm making this shape. That's how you can do that. But you say, yeah, that sounds so easy. And it does sound easy, but it's very difficult to do. Years ago, when I first started teaching, years ago, I think this book came out in 79. I started teaching in 93. This book really taught me how to learn so that I could teach others how to learn. It's called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain by Betty Edwards. And in here, she references drawing pictures upside down. Let's just take this simple line drawing that I sketched up here. Taking this simple line drawing, okay? We know that it's a cat. It resembles a cat, so our brain is going to say, okay, that's a cat. But when we turn it upside down, now that just looks like a bunch of lines, okay? And so the deal with our brain is, if we think it looks like a cat, we're going to try to draw the cat that we have in our brain. But if we are going to be drawing this picture upside down, now we're looking at it as, okay, now we have this line and this shape, and we look at it in that particular way. So let me get my picture back here. So if I pull this over a little bit here, won't be able to get it all in, but that's close enough. I should actually do this. Okay, that way you can see both. Now this is upside down for me. Oh, and also I wanted to let you know that she does have 2 books, Drawing on the Artist Within. I've also read this book. 2 wonderful references on learning how to draw, learning how to reprogram your brain so that you can look at things properly to draw. Okay, so I would just pick a point. And this page that I have as a reference is almost as big as the one that I'm drawing on. So I'm going to be looking at points of distance and shapes that it makes, the relationships between the lines and the shapes that they make. Okay, so let me come over here. I'm going to start here on this line. So the line curves, comes out, kind of goes to a point there, slightly up, now I want to see, okay, how far over is this from where I started? That looks about right. So now we're starting to curve up into the ear, has a swoop down, but we want to make sure that we see how big of a distance this is compared to the swoop that we bring back up. Do we have the distance there? So this starts coming in here, swoops up. Okay, where does this stop as in compared to this? So I would say just a little farther. Bring it in and down. Comes clear down. Now we're making a little, and it has a flat spot there. We're coming back up. Now we want to make this shape. We want to get these lines the correct distance apart to make that shape. And like I say with everything, this is hand drawn, so it's not going to look like a carbon copy, nor do you want your art to be a carbon copy. Well, I think I made that a little wide. That's okay. Because I was just talking about how art shouldn't be a carbon copy. Kind of goes flat in that. Okay. So now that we turn it right side up, oops. Okay, Diane, get it right here. You can see, without hesitation, we made this line drawing by just looking at the line shape relationships. Is it perfect? No, but like I said, it is a piece of unique art. It's not going to be perfect. But you say, yeah, that's a pretty easy one there. Okay, fair enough, but that's just to start with. So let's say that we now have something a bit more, okay? Something a bit more. Let me make sure that I have this lined up properly. Okay. So now I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to start down here, and I'm going to try to make the shape that I see. This line curves up. Okay, from here we have a little line that does that, a little line that comes out, and then up. So we know that this one comes out slightly, and it looks like it's got 1, 2, 3 kind of squiggles on it. Now we need to make this shape here that we have right there. That one comes up, swoops around. We have these shapes. Where does that start? Kind of in the middle of that triangle that we made. Nope, that is incorrect because that should be closer up. Let's start that again. So I want that to be about right here. So let me start with that. There we go. I like that better. And again, your discretion. This is your drawing. I'm just trying to give you some tips on how you can look at things a little bit better. See them a little better. Okay, I think that those two lines happen to be pretty close together in the proper area. Okay, this one comes kind of up and over. Swoops up here. This one swoops around here. That. I got that. Oh, I'm missing this line. So if I want to start up here, I'm going to leave a gap for those other lines. Notice I didn't call them whiskers. They're lines. We've got to start calling these line shape relationships. Okay, then this one goes down that way. This one ends about there. And then finally we want to put the tail on it. Starts about here. I think I'm a little close. All right. So then you can see that pretty quickly, without worrying about what we were drawing, we were just trying to get the lines and the shapes correctly done. This is a starting point for you. Notice here though how I have this way over onto this side and it's a little squished up in here. You can easily fix that, remedy that, by putting in large guiding shapes. And let me make sure I'm getting in the correct place here. Your large guiding shapes. So we can go ahead and do this one correctly, right side up, after you practice with your upside down for a while. But we want to do, let's say, this Cheshire cat. We noticed some large sweeping shapes. We have ovals, circles, we have some straight lines. So we're going to put in those large sweeping shapes to make sure that we get everything centered correctly. So first thing that I want to do is the important part, which is the head. So we have a large round shape here for the head. And then, you know, we have some triangles going off this way, this way, this way, this way. We have kind of a, I would say it's more of an oval. Another oval happening this way. Then we have nice large shape here, running down to another circle here. And then you have some straight lines that we'll put in there. But basically, now I am going to get the correct size and placement of this Cheshire cat that I am going to be drawing, okay? It's not going to be too large and run off the page or too small and not take up enough room. It's not going to be more one side than the other, lopsided. So putting in your large sweeping shapes first really does help you to guide where you're going to be going. And then from there, you just use your line shape relationship that we just learned and you start to tweak this. And this is just your first guide. It doesn't mean that everything is going to be exactly into place, but notice how I'm following the swoops here. So I know that this needs to be slightly lower than that. Brought that up. Okay, so right away we know we want to erase this out so that we can see how that first section ended up. So we have this first section here that we just did, using our line shape relationships to draw it in properly, but we have our guidelines so we know that we shouldn't have gotten too big someplace or too small someplace. So then coming back over here, the tip of this is just about the same as the tip of this. So I know I want to make that like that. So we have our second ear in there. We have the head or the back tuft that starts here, swoops down this way, starts here, swoops down that way, I think that one's more curved than I made it. Yeah, that looks better. So then we have, and then starting from the middle of that is where we're going to take the line there down, Let's take another. This one goes around and then down. I want to make this shape here in between these two lines of what we are considering the eye. Okay, this one does not seem big enough, so we are going to move this eye. But you see how this is working? We're going to move this eye up a little. It needs to be up. It starts in the same place. There we go. Just needed to move that up a little. There we go. Take that down. And this is off center. This is about over to here. So little things that you want to look at. Then this one comes up. Notice how this one's fatter and this one's wider. We know that that attaches right there. Perfect. Okay. Oh, we had two lines coming out here and here. We have a line here. Oh, that's his bottom. Okay. That's not a bad line. Pull that over. We're looking at line-shape relationship. Please remember that. Line-shape relationship. And so now, because I had this guide here, I know that I want to take that over. This comes down. Move that way. And we have a line coming over this way. That meets up with this little line here. You know what? This is thinner than this one, so I think I'm going to bring it over a little bit more. There we go. There we go. That looks better. So we know that this is curling, and it needs to be in this guideline shape here. Comes around, and this comes pretty straight down. Okay. Oh, did I put in all my lines? No, I did not. Okay, so pretty quickly, using the big guide shapes and the line shape relationships, we were able to draw this little line drawing of a Cheshire cat pretty quickly. Those are the two big things that when you are starting to draw something for keeps, not just a practice, you know, you do have to practice, but when you're drawing something that you really want to turn into a work of art, You need to make sure that everything is placed in the proper area. You need to make sure that it's all going to be the correct size that you want it to be. And then you need to use line shape relationship in order to get those drawings done in the correct way. So to tell your brain that you are not drawing a cat, you are drawing lines and shapes. You're not drawing an eye. And notice several times I went in and erased out because I did not make that shape in between the lines that was appropriate. So that's how you deal with line shape relationship. The big guide shapes help you to place it properly and help you to get the proper sizing. Then the line shape relationship of your drawing helps you to really be able to hone in on drawing it in a proper way that the lines and the shapes make up exactly what you have from your reference picture. Don't tell yourself, I'm drawing a cat. Tell yourself, I'm drawing this line. I'm making this shape, okay? That should really help. Drawing a picture from upside down really helps to reprogram your brain to look at line shape relationship. So I hope this helped. I would love to see some of your drawings, and I'll see you in the next.